Hello!
Hi, Jack.
How you doing, Paladin?
I'm doing great. So let's talk a little bit about Elon Musk's compensation and why Tesla losing money is very bad for him.
Yes,
Alright,
please.
So in 2018, there was a giant thing about $56 billion in stock options, and so there was a big compensation fight. Came down to the last minute. Some of his biggest holders on the board were not going to support it, and they ended up supporting it.
Hi,
That
it's Jeff C.
that
You can
compensation package includes $303 million or 303 million stock options divided up over 12 years. So from
Okay.
2018 to 2030. Each of those stock options have a strike price of $25, meaning the way a stock option works is that there's a strike price. The strike price is the price that is set for you to buy the stock.
hmm
So if you get stock options, you'll get what's called a grant. The grant will say you're granted an option to buy 100,000 shares at $25. That option will vest 2 years or 3 years or 5 years down the line. That means that it's $25 now, and you can buy them in 2030, right? So you
hmm
can buy them 5 years from now. That's how the stock options work. So these options have a vest period. In this case, I believe they're 3 years. So some of them have already vested and some of them haven't. And he hasn't reached some of the goals for some of them. There's about 25 million of the options that he hasn't met the requirements for. Most of them were based around getting the valuation of the stock over $650 billion. Right now, the stock valuation is about $780 billion. So he met those goals.
hmm
Here's the issues, right? So those stocks, because their strike price is 25 and the current price now is 225, they have equity. That equity is about $67 billion,
Okay.
right? Yeah. So that equity you can borrow against. You can borrow against stock. You can borrow against the equity within your stock.
Okay.
So your call option, you can borrow against your own equity.
Oh, wait,
But
wait. So can you borrow against like your presumed future equity if you met thresholds?
yes, once he has the options vested, meaning he can legally buy them as soon as the time requirement is met, then you can borrow against it. Like he can't borrow against the 25 million options that he doesn't technically have yet, but he can borrow against the ones he's met, right?
Okay.
So so once he has that, so that equity is the difference between the current price now and the strike price. Because the strike price is 25 and the sell price is 225. And nobody in the universe would turn down an offer to loan you money to buy something to sell it immediately back at 12 times its value.
Yeah.
So as long as the actual price is higher than the strike price, he can always exercise the options. Nobody will stop him because no bank in the universe would turn down the simple offer of you hand me money, I turn it into a lot more money, and then I hand you the original money plus some back
Yeah.
in approximately 5 minutes. Okay, but remember, he has to vest them. And more importantly, in order to not pay standardized taxes, he has to hold them. He has to hold them for at least 2 years
Yep.
past the exercise date. Otherwise, it's called short-term capital gains, and he pays full freight.
Yep.
If he goes to long-term capital gains, he pays somewhere between 0 and 20%. So he wants to keep his costs down. And more importantly, he's borrowing against the equity on these options. But that means that technically, when you borrow against the equity on options, the loaner has an option to that if you get that if the price of the option gets too close to the strike price, I can force you to sell it.
Okay.
So the more leveraged he is, the more likely he is to face a massive blowout. because let's say that all of his options, the strike price is 25, current price is 225, but the force to call option, the force to sell and meet the requirements is say 100, right?
Yeah.
So now the instant that stock hits 99.99, the banks can basically force him to sell 12% of Tesla's total stock that minute.
Yep.
That's very bad. That
Yeah.
means he's gonna lose money quick. Because everyone knows what that point is. So as the stock gets closer and closer and closer to that cliff, they know that there's a distinct possibility that the stock's going to go way over a cliff because that forced 12% sale.
Yeah, and
That's bad.
And it seems like, and I'm not entirely sure about the holdings of like the Tesla board, but it seems to me they would not be selling $76 million, $40 million plus of their different stock options if they didn't feel like the trajectory was heading towards that cliff.
Yeah, and so eventually what's probably going to happen is the board of Tesla are going to force him to basically decide it's us or Doge.
Yeah,
but that's another point down the street. But anyway, also understand that he still owes somewhere between 20 and 30 billion dollars to the Saudi PIF for buying Twitter. X, and so there's a possibility this could go all real bad. And the other thing is that his biggest holding is he holds about 45% of all the stock in SpaceX.
Yep.
But SpaceX has one client, the U.S. government.
Yep.
So at this point, if you get a nicely vindictive Democrat, that stock isn't worth the paper it's written on.
Yep. He's kind of all in. Like it's kind of all or nothing for him.
Yeah, that's why he's like hold. That whole thing was a show for he's talking about like once we perfect auto driving, we can run the cars without drivers 24/7. So fleets will be 5 times as valuable, which is complete nonsense. He's out there talking about putting 1 million people on Mars in the next 10 years and a bunch of other stuff. I watched that whole thing.
I feel like the credulity of people has reached its limit when it comes to his promises. Like nothing I'm seeing him saying has really seemed to spark any excitement or any actual interest from people. It's a lot of rehashing old ideas that he's had that like people may have been excited about like 12 years ago. They aren't excited about it anymore.
Yeah. Okay. And and plus just I think people are so used to Tesla overpromising and under-delivering that just to reference a name that Jack will understand, he's developing Peter Molyneux syndrome.
Is this his cube? Is this his like tap in the cube game?
Yes.
We're in that era of Molyneux right now.
Yeah, we're in the way over. We're in the Fable 2 is going to be the greatest RPG that's ever existed, or Fable 3 is going to be the greatest RPG that's ever existed.
Yeah.
Levels of delusion. Yeah. So eventually, you just reach a point where people are like tired of him. Like the major anti-Musk subreddit is called Enough Musk Spam, and I think people are getting tired of it. I mean, Twitter is just riddled with Elon Musk, sock puppets. Listening to guys like Mario Nafwal or Doge Designer or what was his fake alter ego? I can't remember that guy's name.
Yeah.
But there's a lot. Like Twitter has an insane amount of pro Elon sock puppetry. and it's just people are like, you can overplay your hand in kind of selling yourself as like a super genius. And I mean, one of the funnier jokes is that people call him the next Edison, and I always think that's kind of accurate because Edison stole most of the stuff he developed. And SpaceX is functionally, like, at no point did anyone think, man, Elon Musk was the real brains behind SpaceX.
Yeah.
Where's the real brains behind Tesla?
No. He hasn't really done anything.
But yeah, there's a ton of just pro Elon Musk sock puppet accounts on Twitter. So like if you follow any Elon posts, it's just a wave of these just insipid, like, oh my god, Elon, you're so super genius. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's kind of gotten to the point where like people have been recognizing that like, oh, Twitter's not really a real social media space anymore. Like it's just all awful. Like I was seeing some of the discourse on Blue Sky today, and like people were like, "Hey, so I'm moving over to Blue Sky because I ran some analysis on how my content is doing on Twitter versus how it does on Blue Sky, and I found out that it's not even close. My content performs exponentially better on Blue Sky with like 1/100th the number of followers I have on Twitter." And it's simply because the algorithms on Twitter are all designed at this point to like funnel Elon Musk content. Like that's like it. He broke it.
And ultimately, there's been a collective silence around some of the more horrible things about Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, the fact that his father groomed his ex-wife's child.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and then the famous Emerald Mine incident where he offered $100,000 if anyone could prove that Errol owned an emerald mine, and Errol tried to claim it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know his dad tried to claim that.
That's like, I got that proof. Yeah, I mean, hell, Errol just did an interview the other day where he's like, yeah, Elon and Kimmel weren't really into all that political nonsense. We had 3 or 4 black servants around the house, and they were really, and Errol and Kimmel were really nice to them.
Yeah, they were all good friends. You know, we paid them.
Yeah.
No, also, he claimed there was no crime in South Africa prior to the end of apartheid.
Yeah. This is, there's it's partially because Elon lives and dies by this delusion of being this self-made man. This kind of like, I never had any help. I pulled myself by my bootstraps. I came to America with nothing but the shirt on my back. I'm the quintessential immigrant story. When none of that is even the least bit true.
No.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather around. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, gaming, plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack.